Welcome to Torah Smash, the podcast for nerdy Jews, where our lives of Jewish learning collide with our love of nerd culture. In each episode, we discuss what we lovingly call a Torah Smash, which we have defined as a beautiful collision of one thing from the world of Judaism with another from nerd culture. I am Barak Malkin, and joining me today are
Ethan Lane Miller.
RDY.
Hey guys.
Hey.
Hi.
So
it's been a minute.
It's been a minute. Today's topic is an idea that I got a number of months back during one of my classes with Spurtus. And a shout out to my classmates. We just finished our last class and we're going to be graduating soon.
Mazel tov. Yay, Spurtus.
So in the class of Jewish values with Dr. Jane Shapiro, one of my classmates, Kobe, was reflecting about the name change of Jacob. And it got me thinking about identity. So I took the note and I was trying to find a way to connect it to something. But so this is from Genesis chapter 32, verses 27 through 29. Then he said, "Let me go, for dawn is breaking." But he answered, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." Said the other, "What is your name?" He replied, "Jacob." Said he, "Your name shall no longer be Jacob, but Israel, for you have striven with beings divine and human and have prevailed." So, in talking about a change of name, what recent show will we be smashing today?
Star Trek Starfleet Academy.
Oh, that's super fun. No. Why do you guess that?
I wanted to throw Star Trek out.
Okay.
You want to throw it out? I thought you loved it.
I thought maybe we could talk about Sam and her title of emissary of her people in the great episode they did honoring Deep Space Nine, but I figured that might have been a stretch for Barak's interests.
It's a stretch. I have not seen this series yet.
It is surprisingly very good.
Good. Nice.
I highly recommend it.
Is there something in Wonder Man that changes names?
Yeah, ding, ding, ding. For this episode, we're going to be exploring the new buddy adventure show from Marvel, Wonder Man.
It was a great show. I'm a little. It's been like 2 weeks since I finished it, but
yeah. This is always my first question. Has everybody seen Wonder Man?
No.
Wow, Ethan, I was worried about that.
Yeah, I'm a little behind. I've been doing some other rewatches right now and haven't made it back to.
This isn't even a rewatch.
Stuff. I know. I've been doing a rewatch of some other shows, and I'm gonna get to Wonder Man.
Hey, but, Ethan, not to shame you. My wife has already watched Wonder Man.
Oh,
I don't understand how being compared to your wife could be shaming anyone, but okay. Bro.
Of the fact that she's more up on a nerd show than you are.
How much?
Because she watches like Love is Blind, and that sort of thing, and all the cooking shows.
And there's nothing wrong with watching Love is Blind and cooking shows. Let's be clear. That could be her nerddom.
Probably, yeah, absolutely.
Barak, we should have her as a guest.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Ooh, that would be.
She would not choose that. She would choose. What would she choose? She would pick like The Labyrinth.
Good.
She would choose Firefly.
Yeah.
They're coming up with a new one.
She would choose Voyager.
No,
oh, Ethan, you'd love her. She would choose Voyager.
Yes.
Yeah, man, I could ask her. I was just the guest on her podcast. For those, if you're looking for another Jewish podcast, download It's Who You Know, the podcast. It was we recorded her final episode.
I was going to say, I'm so excited for the new episodes, bro.
Yeah. No.
So where in Wonder Man is there a name?
Yeah. So let's get into this stuff. So in the class, the conversation with Kobe continued, and we discussed this change of name as the new covenant with God. And Kobe asked if this name change was really, really about a covenant, or was it just because they are being transformed in some way? And so before we get to the nerddom stuff, I want to start with the Jewish side and ask about moments in Jewish life when we are transformed or our identity changes and we get a new name. Can you guys help me think of a list of times when we are transformed or identity changes and we get a new name?
When we have our baby naming, we get we in Judaism we get a Hebrew name.
Yep, we have become a new person.
When we become B'nai Mitzvah, we get the title.
Yeah,
Bat or Bar or Bet Mitzvah, however we want to do it. When we are married, we get a new title as a unit, as a couple. When we have children, we get a new title of mom or dad.
Mm.
And then when they have children, we get a new title of however you want to call yourself as a grandparent.
Mm. I would also add in like conversions. When people
Oh yeah,
convert
for
into Jew,
sure.
they get a new name.
Yeah, good one.
I might say when you go to camp and get a nickname at camp.
Ooh, I like that. That's
Or
nice.
or when you're in youth group and people start calling you RDY.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sorry, when you're the regional rabbi for a youth group and people start calling you RDY, even though you asked
I
them to call you a different
yeah.
nickname.
It was odd that they pegged you as a rabbi even back then.
I had a high school teacher who used to call me rabbi, but I think he was doing it to be anti-Semitic, so that's another story for another time.
Oh, jeez.
uh, Funny.
Not this isn't specifically Jewish, but when somebody realizes that the person they are doesn't match the identity they've been given, they change their name.
Yeah. Also in Jewish practice, people who are very sick might change their name as a way to bring on healing. It comes from the idea that if you change your name, then the angel of death can't find you.
Oh, I've never
Oh,
heard that one
see, this is the
before.
stuff I'm looking for. That's interest. That is a very, as we get into this dive, that's very interesting. Any other ones? Any other ways that if we change our identity changes, our name changes?
Well, when we become, certified under certain programs, when we get a degree, doctor or rabbi or have a master's program completed, then there's a new level of expertise that can almost be considered an identity.
Barack Malkin, MAJPS.
Yeah.
But I never even thought of adding those. Yeah. All right, so let's get into the nerd, right? So RDY was curious of how this smashes. So in Wonder Man, we really are focusing a lot on Simon Williams and Trevor Slattery. For Susan, Simon Williams is the main character that we like really follow along, and Trevor Slattery is his like third time, fourth if you count the short, third time in the MCU revisiting a character that he started as in Iron Man 3. And I do think that both of them are really dealing with a crisis of identity in this series, and both of them find that solace when they receive an impactful name change that really goes along with the storyline. Did you guys feel that as well?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. I thought you haven't seen it.
I haven't, but I thought it
Oh,
was good
God.
to agree.
I totally forgot. I was like, why are you making a comment? He said yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Simon Williams is Simon Williams throughout. And it's not until he's cast as Wonder Man that he starts to feel like it. But he really, until he has the movie come out and becomes Wonder Man, that's his, like, he has completed his arc as a character
Yeah.
towards the end of the series. And then similarly, Trevor Slattery throughout, right, he comes in as an actor, this shunned actor wanted by the FBI, and he's faking his way through it, sort of thing. Like, he pretending to be a friend, pretending to be this other person. And I would say that his change, right? Simon Williams gets changes when he becomes Wonder Man. I think Trevor Slattery changes when he accepts the name the Mandarin at the end. And
Ah.
it's not in a malicious way, but he does it in a way that creates this wholeness between him and Simon Williams and their friendship. And so this change of who he is, I think comes into play when he says, I'm the Mandarin. And like, RDY, any other identity changes that you may think of from the show?
I think it's not necessarily an identity change, but it's a level of comfort that Simon has. Like when he's with his family and his brother is picking on him and his superpower is unleashed, spoiler alert,
Yeah.
like he can only do that because he's in front of his family. So there's
Yeah.
this, it's like having children. Like your children behave awful to you at home, and then their teachers tell you how wonderful they are, and you're like so thankful that they know enough about how to behave in public, and you also are kind of in the background proud that they're so comfortable with you that they're willing to let their mask down and just be jerks. So
Yeah.
the same kind of thing. Like Simon knows that his family won't his family already knows. And yeah, he's going to ruin kitchen counter, but he's he's comfortable enough with them that he's not going to stop himself the way he would have to if he were with strangers. So it's not a different identity, it's a different aspect of his identity.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if his brother nicknames him in some way. Because his first change comes, they say that uh he's blamed for the fire that burned down their kitchen, right?
Right.
And that was the first instance, and that would be his identity change. And I cannot remember if his brothers or his family nicknamed him in some way or created some sort of identity
Yes.
change.
I think his
Um,
brother did call him a name.
I think so too.
Yeah.
And that would be that change that I'm talking about. That would be that shift, right? And I don't remember what it was. There is another identity change that I caught. It was, it feels like every show now needs one episode that doesn't follow the storyline and is just an extra thing to fill in an episode. But I enjoyed this one. It was when they followed Damar the Doorman Davis, who the Doorman is a character from the Marvel comics, but Damar has a complete change of character when he accepts the screen name of the doorman,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That he was this really kind-hearted person. And when they sort of force upon him this popular title of doorman, his complete persona changes with that. That is
Yeah.
his shift of character. Wasn't a good change, wasn't for the better, but that was another identity shift that I found with like a name change that existed.
Yeah. Also in the comic books, Eric, Simon's brother, is known as the Grim Reaper.
Yeah. And I don't think they'll play with that at all. They didn't give any semblance or any hint that that would play out in some way.
Just the tension, just the
Yeah.
except at the end they do resolve it a little.
Yeah, it like once he once he's famous and popular and has a movie to make money, like everybody's okay with him, which is not the resolve that I wanted for that. I wish they
Yeah, but it's also clear that that was always his value to his brother.
yeah.
Like his brother's value in life was I paid for all this.
Yeah.
I provided mom with this.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. I don't think there were those were the three that really stuck out to me. I don't think director Kovac really changes in any way. The girlfriend doesn't have like a change. The reporter doesn't like the reporter is focused on their identity and is trying to pull out secrets of their identity
Hmm.
as this change is happening and as they're approaching this shift. But I don't think that there was other ones.
Yeah.
Um, all right, I'm going to jump back to the Jewish and allow Ethan to join the conversation again. Um,
Yay.
so I talked about
Yay.
welcome back, Ethan. We talked about Jacob and Jason probably made notes. Jacob changes his name to Israel, as I read out in
The
the
angel
beginning.
changes
The
Jacob's name.
angel changes Jacob's name to Israel. Who else in the Torah receives a new name and a new identity?
I mean, the first two that I think of are Abram and Sarai, who
Mhm.
become Abraham and Sarah.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um,
What
there's also Esther, whose Hebrew name is Hadassah.
can I ask the difference between who Avram is versus Abraham and who Sarai is versus Sarah? Like aside from adding the H, which I believe is like a inserting God into their name as like a metaphor kind of
Yeah.
thing. What is their shift of identity that happens from name to name there?
So the God letters are Yud Hey and Vav because Yud Hey Vav Hey is how one would spell God's name. We don't know how to pronounce it. We use the replacement word Adonai. So Abram does not have any of those letters. Sarai has a Yud. And so a Yud in Hebrew numerology is valued at 10 and a Hey is valued at 5. What the Midrash says that Sarai said, why don't you take my Yud and split it into two Heys and put one in my name, making me Sarah, and put one into Abram's name, making him Abraham, and then we won't have changed our value as a couple. We won't have changed the essence of who we are. We will just have shared this name. And then my addition to that midrash is they become the first couple to share a married name.
Oh, that's nice. Okay, well, I like that married name. They're sharing a name situation. Anybody else in the Torah who gets a name change with an identity shift?
There's another midrash about Noah and Moses, and neither one of them gets referred to by a different name, but there's this idea idea that when they are acting in reverse of their normal self. So Moshe means like is Egyptian for fatherless, and or Hebrew for I drew him out of the water, depending on how you want to go with it. And Noah, Noach in Hebrew, and Noach means like at rest. It has a relationship to that. Lanuach is to rest.
Mm.
And if you reverse the two letters of Noach, you get chen, which is mercy. And so when Moses is acting against his normal tendencies, when he is building the ark and protecting the animals, he is embodying mercy because he's reversed himself.
Mm. Hmm.
But then when he gets off the ark, the first thing he does is get drunk. He plants a vineyard so he can get drunk, and he's back to being at rest.
But nobody
Whereas
refers to him as the reversal of his name.
Correct. He
Yeah.
doesn't get referred to by the reversal name, but he acts in it. He gets this different identity in the midrash,
Yeah.
and for Moses, by reversing the letters of Moses, you get Hashem, which is one of the ways we refer to God. And the midrash suggests that Noah goes back to being at rest, but Moses never leaves God's graces. Moses never reverts back to the way he used to be.
Hmm. Nice.
This is interesting. I've never heard that before.
I had another one I was thinking of well, somebody had said to me Naomi to Mara, and I don't know that story.
Oh yes, she says call me Mara because she's been embittered by the loss of her husband and two sons.
Yeah. Right. So that identity change with this identity shift.
Yeah.
And then the other one that I thought of when I was thinking of like other people who's changed the name, right? I'm pretty sure that the David from David and Goliath becomes King David. Is that correct?
That is correct. So
Yeah.
yes, get it becoming king is a new identity.
Yeah. Right. He gets a name, and that we didn't talk about royalty shift because we don't experience that. But getting the title of king. And so I like with that as an example, are there other characters who change roles, change identity, and get a name change? I was struggling to find more, but
I want to dig a little deeper into the Jacob story if you're all right with that.
yeah, go ahead.
So this happens at the this name change where Jacob says, uh, you know, I'm not going to let you go until you bless me. We know blessings as starting with Baruch atah Adonai, blessed are you God. And this starts this is this moment, like if you're imagine hearing this story for the first time where Jacob is wrestling with an angel, and it doesn't say the word angel in the Torah, it says a man, but we understand that when the Torah does that, it means an angel. So Jacob is wrestling with this angel and they're at a standstill, and it's kind of like the angel is tapping out, and Jacob says, I'm not going to let you go till you bless me. And so if you're hearing this for the first time, maybe you're expecting the angel to say, Baruch atah Adonai, or if not, blessed are you God, then perhaps may God bless you with these good things. And instead of saying, may God bless you, or Baruch, or anything that is prayer language, he says, what's your name? And it makes the listener kind of scratch their head like, what? What's your name? Well, maybe the angel's going to put his name into a blessing and make it beautiful. And blessed are you, Jacob, and may but instead he goes, no, that's not your name. It's Israel. And that's a weird blessing. Like, what? You're calling me God struggler? How is that a blessing? And yet we acknowledge that it's a blessing. And most of us who are familiar with the story, we never pause to acknowledge that that's a little weird. And then
Yeah.
and then he even says, Jacob even says to the angel, tell me your name. And the angel goes, you cannot know my name. Like, names are private. You can't know my name, although I just changed yours. But that kind of emphasizes that there is great blessing in a name. And there's great power in a name. If someone says your name, your head will turn toward them. So they have the ability to move you just by uttering your name. So that we as a people, not only do we acknowledge that Yisrael, Israel, is a blessing of a name, because it is a blessing to struggle with God, because you cannot struggle with something you do not have relationship with. We've called our people that. When the Talmud refers to Yisrael, it means Jews. We've called our nation that, which also has lots of names. The idea that God struggling is the highest blessing that one could attain is demonstrated with this narrative.
Follow up on this Jacob name thing. Well, first, by the way, if you don't know, my middle name is Israel.
Hey.
It's a fun thing.
Middle name's Jacob.
Your middle name's Jacob, Ethan?
No, I don't have a middle name.
Lane is your middle name?
No, I don't have a middle name. Fun fact, when my sister Elizabeth got married, she took her husband's last name and then also gave herself a middle name while she was at it.
Oh,
Nice.
I have lots of friends who, when they got married, took their husband's names and used their maiden name as their new middle name.
But she didn't do that. She literally made a middle name for herself that did not
That's
exist.
cool.
Yeah.
That's fun.
So the
What
three
did
of
she choose?
us, she chose Anna in honor of my grandmother.
That's
Very
beautiful.
nice. A follow-up question to this Jacob name thing. The Torah still calls him Jacob many times after this. So my question is like, is it really a new name? Is it more of a title describing who he becomes? Or like, why is his identity shifting back and forth, or for what purpose?
Especially as compared to Abraham and Sarah. As soon as God says, you're Abraham and Sarah now,
Yeah.
they never go back. They never make a mistake, nothing.
Yeah.
But in the verse that you read, the last verse that you read that says, "Your name shall no longer be Jacob, but Israel, for you have striven with beings divine and human and have prevailed." The next sentence is, "And Jacob asked, 'Tell me your name.'"
Oh, yeah. Why? Why does it flip-flop for him?
The Midrash suggests that Jacob, Yaakov, is derived from heel because he was holding on to his brother's heel when he came
Right.
out of the womb. When he is behaving like a heel, he refers to himself in the Torah, refers to him as Yaakov, Jacob. And when he is behaving as the God struggler, as someone deserving of blessing, it refers to him as Yisrael, Israel.
I like that. That's great. And that, I think that ties back to the show a lot, because granted, Simon isn't given the name Wonder Man until he's auditioning and in the role and practicing for it.
Mm-hmm.
But depending on who he's around will determine who calls him what. Right. And the same thing with Trevor Slattery, right? Yes, his name is Trevor, but the way that Simon calls him Trevor versus the way that the agent calls him Trevor, it's a different person. And I know it's the same name, but we talked about his brother calling him something else until he accepts who he is and then calls him Simon.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that's interesting that it's like when your parents are upset with you and they call you your full name and not your nickname or something, or
Yeah.
right? Like, that's what that feels like. The misbehaved, I'm going to call you by your full name kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And even the tone that someone uses when using your name, it changes how they're feeling about you in the moment, but it also changes how they relate to you if it's different people. Very, very few people call me Dave, like my mom and people who've known me since before high school. More people call me RDY. Even more people will call me by my title. And in my professional life, I don't tell people to call me by my first name. I never introduce myself with my first name unless it's like an interfaith situation and I'm introducing myself to the imam or the priest or
Mhm.
whatever.
Or in court.
Yeah, I mean, thank God, not yet. But I also find that there are people in every congregation I work at that I will say, "Hello, I'm Rabbi Young," and they'll say, "Hi, David." And it's a little odd because it feels like they're forcing a relationship that isn't really there.
Mm. That's interesting. Of like, you push the RDY because you want to be. It feels like that's your friend name.
RDY is my friend name. Yeah, it's
Yeah, right.
casual, but still.
Right. You said your mom calls you Dave,
Mhm.
and unfamiliar congregants will call you Rabbi. Right. It feels like there's this identity shift for who you are dealing with will determine the name that's called to you.
For
Which I
sure.
think this leads into the other question I have, is that what's the difference here between a completely new name versus a superhero name, right? Peter
Oh,
Parker
interesting.
Peter Parker becomes Spider-Man, but he's still Peter Parker. If is Jacob still Jacob even when he's Israel? Right? We sort of just talked about these shifts, and it's like, what is the difference when you have a name but you're called something else? And maybe this RDY conversation just answered it, but wanted to put that out there.
That's
Uh,
so interesting.
I'm thinking about the end of Iron Man too, where he just stands up in front of the press and says, "I am Iron Man."
Yeah.
Okay, I have an idea. I think it's the difference between when you're a teacher and you're referred to formally, and then when you're at HEB and you're incognito. You're still the same person.
HEB, folks, is the local grocery store in Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
Thank you. But yes, it's the difference there.
Oh,
It's
everybody on the
not just
East
a
Coast
reference
was,
to General Hebes.
yeah, that's like the East Coast people are like the Hebe when you're in Hebes. Is that a synagogue? Is that what they call synagogues in Austin?
I think I just lost my point.
Like seeing your teacher at the grocery store is bewildering as a kid.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I mean the point remains it's the same person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right. I feel like Spider-Man is still Peter Parker when he's got the mask on, even though he's got the identity of the superhero. His behavior, his man, like it is still him for the most part. I think there's elements of Peter Parker that when he doesn't have the mask on, he's not as outward because he's trying to like hide his identity, right? Clark Kent doesn't behave like Superman because he's trying to hide his identity. So there, I think there's elements of the character that stay hidden when the mask is off or the cape is off. But the right, and you're gonna get into I already was making a symbol, which makes me feel like he wants to jump back to the Kill Bill conversation.
Yeah.
But the I think that yes, the person is still there, but depending on who's calling you what changes your behavior toward them. Right, which I think is that Peter Parker Spider-Man thing.
Yeah, I think those two examples are actually perfect because yes, Peter Parker is always there when it's Spider-Man, but maybe more so
Yeah.
because when Peter Parker is walking through high school or or he's taking pictures for J. Jonah Jameson, he's a little more shy, a little more withdrawn. But when he
Yeah.
puts the mask on, it encourages him to be his smart alecky, quick-witted
Yeah, it's like a
self.
freedom that comes with it.
hmm
Yeah.
And when Superman is portraying Clark Kent, so yes, that's the Kill Bill switch.
Yeah.
When Superman is portraying Clark Kent, even as Clark Kent, there is a little bit of Kal-El in there. Like Clark Kent is a do-gooder. He's
Yeah.
polite. He tries to behave properly, and even in his awkwardness.
Yeah.
And yes, no matter what kind of a rabbi I am, no matter what kind of respect or disagreement or lack thereof, or what have you, I'm always David from Cincinnati.
I feel bad, Ethan, that I don't feel like you've got enough airtime, and so I want to ask you, what are some characters from Star Trek that have changed, that have like a name change or identity shift with that?
Well, the first one that I would think of would be Dax,
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
because the whole character is based on the idea of you're a symbiont and you have different hosts throughout your lifetime. And
Mm.
so we have these great things where Curzon Dax was Cisco's mentor, and then Jadzia Dax is then reunited with Cisco. And so their dynamic changes. It's still Dax, but the dynamic changes.
Mm. We
And then
also
in
we
the
oh, go ahead.
and then in the final season, it gets complicated because Jadzia dies, and then they become Esri Dax, and they're now interacting with everyone again. Still Dax, but also different person.
We also had a different episode where we talked of Seven of Nine, and we discussed their shift from Seven of Nine to Seven, right? That they had a name shift.
So in Picard season 3, one of the big moments is that Seven really claims the name Seven of Nine, and so she is a commander on a starship, and the commander and the captain tells her, no, you're not going to be referred to by this Borg nonsense. He's like, you can be referred to as your human name you were given when you were born, Annika Hansen. So he keeps calling her Commander Hansen, and she wants to be known as Commander Seven.
Oh,
And
interesting.
at the end of the series, she really owns the title as, spoiler alert, and I love this so much.
She owns the title of spoiler alert. That's a shift from
No,
Captain Spoiler
It's
Alert.
Commander Spoiler Alert.
Commander Spoiler Alert.
actually, what I was going to say is she owns the title and is Captain Seven.
Oh, nice. Very
And
nice.
think about how many Rebeccas did you know growing up that you called Becky that came back from college and demanded to be called Rebecca, or like
Right.
pick another similar name, but that's the one that always comes to my head.
I know a couple of Jeffreys that prefer Jeffrey over Jeff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
You know what?
it feels like we're like adjacent to this. So I kind of want to go there. But it feels like, folks, transgender folks, when they are able to come out and be who they are, that part of this is also
Yeah.
choosing a name that reflects who they are. They're the
Yeah.
same person, essentially.
Mhm.
I want to word this well. They are who they are, but they are now more accurate to who they are, who they
Yeah.
are most true to themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Right.
And I think that back to the 7 of 9 thing, and I think another thing that happened with her identity shift was not just her comfort with her name, but like right in hers it was we are 7 of 9. It's I am 7 of 9. Like she had this. That was her identity name shift. Was her pronoun usage from we to I.
Well, I mean, right. And this all goes to like trauma and rediscovering herself.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, so like those were the main questions I had. I wanted to ask Ethan, or do I, your favorite moments from Wonder Man, if you had any.
Oh, I mean, all of them.
So many to choose.
There were a couple of moments that I loved in the director's mansion. The bad improv is
Oh
so
God,
painful and familiar.
yeah.
And
I loved how Simon, instead of improvising, which was such a terrible choice on his, he instead did a scene from Pretty Woman,
yes,
and they're like, that
yes,
was good, but was that Pretty Woman? Because that's not what I asked you for.
yeah.
Yeah,
But I think that also fit his character, and it's so many
yeah,
people who are so careful and planned, and he has to be careful and planned. He can't improvise. What if his powers are revealed? Like
yeah,
it's dangerous.
yeah,
And the beginning of the series shows how careful he is with all of the things, and like copious notes on the one page he shows up
yeah,
in that TV show, and oh, can we do it this way, and let me try that, and here's what I'm thinking. Oh, you want me to block here, but it's better if I do it this way, and here's why, but we have to change the light, and oh, that's not a problem. and
yeah,
and so here he is, so in Hebrew we would say midakdek, it's like so particular,
yeah.
needs every duck in a row to go and throw him into improv. I just thought that was so well done.
Well, it's interesting. You're mentioning that opening scene where he was on, I think it was American Horror Story, is what the episode
Yeah,
was,
that's right.
and he was struggling with that person's identity. He was trying to figure out who is this person, what are they doing, what are they reading, what is their likes, dislikes, where would they be standing, what's their relationship to this other person. The identity of the character he was trying to find, but he really had to figure out his own identity to really be comfortable with these other people on the page. Yeah. I thoroughly enjoyed the Joe Pantoliano cameo.
So good.
Yeah, and as a kid, I loved Baby's Day Out, and I saw the poster, and then they trashed Baby's Day Out, and I was like, oh,
Yes.
is that a bad movie? And I just
It's a
don't
bad
remember it.
movie.
No,
But
as a kid, I was like, that's so exciting, but yeah,
when he said, "Call me Joey Pants," I
yeah.
was like, "Oh my God."
Well, I wonder if I was trying to find the identity shift with him because I was like, what is the scene there? And there is this informality between Simon Williams, who's such a big fan of his at the beginning, and then it's definitely a shift at the end when he's scolding him and he calls him straight out. I think that he does use Joey Pants earlier and then says Joe Pantoliano, and it's like a clear shift from that friend to scolding conversation. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
I have mixed feelings about the Doorman episode, but I enjoyed Josh Gad in this party man Olaf remix DJ situation.
The DJ of
Yeah.
Olaf's song was so funny.
Yeah. And I'm curious if Josh Gad is going to make an appearance somewhere else now that he's like feels like stuck in the Dark Force, but
Yeah.
we haven't
Josh
had
Gad is in the MCU.
He
he
is
is and
now
he's like stuck in the
as
MCU.
Josh Gad.
Yeah, and so I'm curious if like, we had a Cloak and Dagger TV show that's really not tied to the MCU directly.
Right.
Um and I'm trying to the Dark Force showed up in Agent Carter for a plot line, but that was years ago, decades ago. And
Mhm.
there's no way Josh Gad is going to show up when we get the flashback for Captain America. I don't believe it's also a time dimension. I just think it's space, and so I don't think he would show up there. But I'm curious if like he's going to just show up somewhere else when the Dark Force is opened again. For
It would be amazing if not, or even just like his corpse.
yes, yeah, I would. That'd be great. Not
Yeah.
not then Josh Gad's corpse would be great. I'm saying like
Yeah.
some
Sorry.
reference.
Josh Gad, if you're listening, we love you.
Yeah, please come on the show. Yeah, and then I think the other thing that I just caught on the corner was that in the background, they showed the Captain America musical from Hawkeye was getting a theatrical
Yes.
release.
Yes.
Yeah, so that was amusing. Anybody have anything else they wanted to share with Wonder Man, Trevor Slattery?
Well, I'm now very excited to watch it. Not that I wasn't before, but
I kind of want to watch it again now.
It was enjoyable. Like it felt slow, but it was a really nice buddy adventure series.
It was.
I did enjoy that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, to wrap up, I will say that we all have moments when we wrestle with our identity or who we are. We look to others for support and guidance, or we turn inward, or we try to turn inward and reflect. And change is hard for anyone, right? And the Torah reminds us that these moments of transformation, which often come with a new name or title, really reflect something deeper, a change in purpose or a change in understanding of who you are. And there's many moments in our lives where a name change reflects actual change. And maybe our lives don't come with dramatic origin stories or flashy new costumes, but we all have moments when we grow into a new version of ourselves. And while change is hard, change can be good. Change can be powerful. And sometimes the hardest part of the change isn't the change itself. The hard part is accepting to answer when someone calls on who we have become.
Very nice.
Yeah. I usually end those with a
Nice.
joke, and I was like, I don't know if I can end that with a joke.
I love that.
Like, I like that was a nice thing. All right. Well, that'll do it for this episode of Torah Smash. Our fiscal sponsor is Jewish Creativity International. Our theme music was created by Sean Fogel. You can check out Sean's bands and studio work at www.thesleepywest.com. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to rate and review us wherever you listen. It helps others find us and is an excellent way to support the podcast. We want to hear from you and continue today's nerdy discussion. Go to torasmash.com to find where to connect with us online, purchase swag from our store, support us with a donation, find previous episodes, and more. And my rabbi pulled me aside and asked if he could be frank with me. I said, sure, but if he wants to be frank with everyone else, he'd have to legally change his name.
surely you must be joking.
Yeah.
Nice.
Exploring the new buddy adventure show from the new buddy
From
adventure.
Narwhal.
Shut up.
Is your friend snoring? Did we bore him?
He's giggling.
Okay, good.